Okay, Mary, can you tell us when you first realised that writing was something that you really wanted to do?
Well, I was an actress for a long time whilst I was involved in the theatre company, and we were creating our own plays. But even though I was sort of like called the writer of the plays because it was very much collective, I still saw myself as an actress because I just found it difficult to even say, I am a playwright probably because of the background I came from. People from my background didn't become playwrights, although I loved actually writing, but I also loved acting as well. And I think it was probably after about 5 or 6 plays when I actually was more creative fulfillment out of writing than acting. And that's when I started to realise I was able to say, well, now I am a playwright, and now that's what I want to do. And if I act, which is fun, I'll do that every now and again. But that's where I'm more fulfilled writing.
You say that people from your background didn't usually become writers. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Well, I came from East Belfast and industrial East Belfast, and all my family either worked in the shipyard or the road work. So there wasn't a history. There wasn't somebody you could aspire to or look up to or say, "Oh, this is a possibility for me to do." So that's basically why I just wasn't in the background. So therefore, you couldn't think. But I wouldn't never thought I'd become a doctor or a nurse or well, perhaps a nurse, but it just seemed beyond reach, and that's why really.
Can you tell us what your experience was like in the first play that you ever wrote?
Well, when I say the first play I ever wrote, well, I co-wrote the first play, and as I said before, with a company called Tarbang, it was very much a collective. So I didn't really feel that I was the person kind of responsible for writing this play. But I can tell you what I felt when I first wrote the first scene, the first putting pen to paper for the very first time, was when this collective went away to work called Tarbang, and Martin Lynch, who was very much the inspiration behind the company, by telling us we could write our own stuff. If he could do it, we could do it. That was kind of his philosophy. And he sent us all away to write a scene about mill workers. But there was no structure, there was no play, there was no nothing. And I remember sitting down and I started to kind of see it. I could see these women talking, and then I started to actually listen in my head, and that sounds a bit bizarre and everything, but that was the best time I ever had. Mind you, I came back with 10 pages and he threw 6 of them in the bin. But for me, it was great. It was just them talking. It was me being able to transpose these people that I could hear, and I'd be sitting and I'd be laughing at what they were saying, and then writing it down. And I thought, I'm having a great time here, and that was the first time really. But and that was just a scene.
And what actually was the first play that you wrote on your own?
The first play I would say that I wrote, well, I did write plays with the company when I really was the writer, and there wasn't the input there had been in there. As time went on, I became the writer and I had more responsibility, and I also had more control as a structure. So I would say that the first one where I felt that now I have written this myself in a way that I wanted to do it would have been a play called Somewhere Over the Balcony, set in Divis Flats, because the whole style of writing was something that it's very hard to do when you're with a collective, but if you're left on your own, it became like I could find a rhythm for the language, which is very, very apparent in Somewhere Over the Balcony, like a play on words, and it's quite a stylized piece as well. It's literally 3 women on a balcony reflecting or sort of reporting what they see, and it was bizarre and wild and mad, and it was being allowed to have that creative freedom. When you work with a collective, it's hard, but I think that was the first time when I knew actually I don't need everybody else. Not that it was brilliant, and I probably would never be sitting here without that collective in the first place, but for me that was like, oh, I can do this and I want to do it myself. I don't want to be restricted anymore.
Do you feel that a play is ever completely finished, or is it a continuing living entity?
I think a play is definitely, for me, it's a continuing living entity. Even like one play of mine has been on for years, and every time I see it, I think, oh, that's different, and I would never have thought of that. And that's a new way of looking at it. And from day one, say for instance the rehearsal, to 3 weeks later can be completely. I mean, essentially it's the same, but it just lives and grows, and even like through the whole playing process, each time you go and see it, something else is kind of like sprouted up and growing. You think this is great, and that's the way I love the theatre.
That brings me on to the next question actually. Why is the theatre a preferred medium for you?
I started off as an actress, and the reason I started off as an actress was because for my first time ever when I walked into a theatre and sat down and the lights went down and then the lights come up and literally was curtains opened, I felt this amazing feeling, and it was almost like spiritual, that I thought, this is where I want to spend the rest of my life. I just loved. It was magic. It was like a child in lion. You open the wardrobe and there is this world that you can be part of, and I still find it very magical. And because it's very interactive and there's people, and watching something from a little seed just grow into something amazing, and other people and being part of that. Whereas in film or television, a writer's like gone, and you're no part of that. The work that you've done, that you finish when you click your mouse or click send. That's really you finished, unless they want rewrites. In the theatre, they need you, they want you, and even like when your plays are on, you'll love the writer to be there. Whoever wants the writer of a film? At the opening of well, maybe at the opening, but that would be it. That's why.
How do you feel your career as an actress has contributed to your skills as a writer for the theatre?
Being an actress is very helpful, but I wouldn't say it's essential. There are many great writers who've never set foot on the stage, but for me it's great. It's just I know my way around it, and I know when it can be difficult to say things. I can hear things, and I suppose technically as well, I know the theatre, and I know what how long scenes can be without it being like that's too verbose, or it needs to change, and because I haven't done it myself. But I'm saying it's not totally essential for to be an actress, but it has helped me.
And what advice would you give to anyone who's watching this and really wants to write?
Anybody who really wants to write, I would say the most important thing is you want to tell a story. You want to tell a story, not just out of the blue. It's like saying, oh, I want to be a celebrity. You need to want to do it. You need to want to tell a story, and you really need to want to communicate. Otherwise, I just think it would be difficult, and it would be hard to be successful if you don't have something to say.